We have a lot of Philippine news here today, so let's get into it. Plane passenger held for gun and bullets at the airport. May 1st, 2024, and an departing American passenger was held at the Clark International Airport after an unlicensed firearm and 8 bullets were found in his carry-on bag. A number of years ago, there were a number of, they call it scams. I think some airport personnel were fired over it they were apparently, I don't know if they were convicted of placing bullets in passengers' luggage and then trying to get a bribe if you give me this much money and we won't prosecute you type thing. This apparently is not that type of thing. The passenger whose name was withheld was bound for Bangkok, Thailand on a Cebu Pacific flight. Personnel of the Office of Transportation stopped the American at the final security check on April 25th. OTS X-ray scanner and screening officers alerted the Philippine National Police Aviation Security Unit based in the Clark Airport after detecting suspicious images resembling a firearm and bullets in the passenger's bag. So apparently, I'm guessing that passenger had the bag in his possession at all times. So it wasn't like it was checked baggage. The passenger admitted owning the bag and failed to present documents for the firearm and bullets. The officer in charge, Jose Briones Jr., commended his men for being alert. Several years ago on a flight I took from Cebu Airport to Surigao, northeast Mindanao, they stopped me and they were looking at my bag, my carry-on bag, and he said, you have a knife in your bag. And I said, no, I don't have a knife in my bag. I don't carry knives. And he brought me around and he showed me what he was looking at. It's a knife in my bag. And it was a butter knife. We opened it up and I searched and dug down through stuff, and sure enough, there was a butter knife down there. And I had carried that along on a ferry trip going over to Dumaguete a year or two earlier. A butter knife, and I thought I was going to get in trouble, and I said, and the guy even said, oh, he forgot he had this, and he said, what do you want to do with it? Do you want to take it out, put it into your checked luggage? I said, no, you can have it, throw it away, do whatever you want with it. I don't want that butter knife. I've got enough butter knives. Magnitude 5.8 quake shakes Leyte, 2 people injured. And this was originally rated as a 6. Anyway, let's go down here. 2 persons were injured when a 5.8 magnitude earthquake jolted parts of Leyte on Friday night. There was no tsunami alert, but many of the people did go to higher ground, and they were asked to return to their homes about 7:30 p.m., I believe. And I will show you a picture of what may have been partly to cause this from the sun, a storm from the sun. This map put out by one of the government agencies, I believe, on space weather. Space weather shows a solar flare that has impacted Southeast Asia area, even up into Japan. Philippines is kind of center right, and happened in that same time period, and may have had an effect on that earthquake. And a lot of these sunstorms actually do have a major impact on weather and earthquakes here on Earth. Here's a map from PhilVolks, the government agency that tracks volcanoes and earthquakes. And here is Leyte. This is Samar here. This is Mindanao down here. You have Bohol, Cebu, Negros, Panay Island over here, and Luzon up here. Luzon all the way down here. And anyway, the earthquake happened off the coast over here. And Leyte felt it. It could be felt even in over here, I believe. They felt it here in Bohol. Parts of Bohol felt it pretty strongly as well. And sad news here, a young Irish national dies while participating in canyoneering in Cebu Island. get down here to the details. An Irish national who joined a canyoneering adventure in Badgintown, southwest Cebu, passed away after complaining of chest pains around 11 a.m. May 2nd. The victim, a 26-year-old female, was single, very young, and probably quite healthy. Based on the investigation by Badgin Police, headed by Station Commander Captain Jerwin Mark Baton, the victim had difficulty breathing after completing 2 jumps from the falls. Her companions, including a doctor, tried to revive her but failed. It was already around 1 p.m. when Badgin rescue personnel arrived in the area. That the victim was taken to Badgin District Hospital. An attending physician pronounced her dead due to acute myocardial infarction, or a heart attack. Now, there's a lot of concern about excess deaths and the increase in deaths in the last couple of years, especially in younger people having heart attacks and strokes. Some governments are doing inquiries, looking into this. Some people are trying to censor that kind of information. But it is a major concern. If you are interested in finding out more about that, there are a number of doctors online. Dr. John Campbell, out of the UK, I think he's got like 3 million subscribers and does a lot of interviews with top doctors. He's a doctor, written textbooks himself. Dr. John Campbell has a lot of information on that type. Just a quick note before I get into more news. Got this from PLDT, Philippine Long Distance Company, with our cell internet service here. Your service for telephone number such and such may be, which is our internet and phone service, may be affected by network interruption in your location and nearby areas. Restoration may take up to 36 hours. And I think it's been about 24 hours at this point in time. And you can track the status apparently. Anyway, my British friend down the hallway, his is out as well. And he told me once, I require reliable internet. And I told him, well, you might want to move back to Britain or the USA then, because you aren't going to get it here all the time. And more good news. I get this information from Philstar Global, Philstar Digital newspaper. That's where I get a lot of my news from. HSBC, the bank, they have one branch here in Cebu City. It's across from, kind of across from Ruston's at Ayala Mall. And you can go over there just down a side street. And we're allowed at this point in time, they can always change. They can change their rules, but this time you can take out 40,000 pesos at a time. They don't have a charge. My U.S. bank charges me $5. So anyway, this is good news. If you're from other countries, you can check your exchange rates here to peso, to dollar, to euro. Being able to take out 40,000 pesos at a time is nice because this is still primarily a cash society. You need cash put down if you're going to rent a place. For instance, a lot of places. Some resorts don't take credit cards. You need to use cash. And so if a lot of these banks only allow you to take out 10,000 at a time. I think BPI allows you 15,000. There was a Citibank branch here. Somebody told me they would allow 40,000. But if you can only take out 10,000 pesos at a time, you're getting charged each time you go to the ATM machine. That adds up over time, and then just the inconvenience going back and forth. So that is important. Now, when I came in 2015, the exchange rate was almost, it was about 9 pesos less per dollar, 48.5. So the 57, almost 57 and a half, really helps lessen the huge inflation costs that we're seeing here in the Philippines. The next story, DA, Department of Agriculture, readies cloud seeding in El Nino hit areas. El Nino being the present weather pattern that is causing the least amount of rain in the Philippines that I've experienced in the last 8 years. Even 2015 drought, 2019 drought. We still had 2 to 3 days every week where we would get some rain, and here in over a month, almost no rain. A couple times, a little bit of rain in the morning, but only a couple times. Cloud seeding, I think cloud seeding started in the U.S. If I recollect, even in the 1960s and 70s, and they continue. They even in the Middle East recently, I think they tried shooting electrical currents into clouds, and probably what caused the unprecedented flooding. They had a reaction that they hadn't intended to happen. Did a lot of flooding in some parts of the Middle East. Anyway, cloud seeding operations are being readied in areas affected by the El Nino phenomena, according to ranking official, Department of Agriculture. Cloud seeding is our last resort. So far, cloud seeding operations have been done in Quirino, Isabela, specifically in the Magat watershed area. They are still on standby for seedable clouds, and my weather app tells me that in the next few days we should have some cloudy skies, at least down here in Cebu. He noted that a standby fund was also allocated in Region 6 and Western Visayas for cloud seeding. If there will be seedable clouds, cloud seeding operations will be done. On the crime note, Basilan councilor, 5 companions hurt in shooting, May 2024. And town councilor and his 5 companions were wounded in a shooting that triggered a gunfight between 2 clans, Akbar Basilan. The police officer in charge said Kalang and his companions, despite being wounded, managed to return fire, prompting the members of the other group to withdraw. The police and military said the 2 groups were engaged in Rido, or clan war, due to the kidnapping of a certain Jimmy, a relative of Jimar and Nani, which was blamed on the group of Kalang. Followers of Jimar and Nani were tagged in the killing of Nurjan Latip, a former barangay chairman. The killing is believed to be in retaliation for the disappearance of Jimmy. If you've heard of the Hatfields and McCoys and that feud that went on for decades, I think they recently put an end. Hopefully have a treaty. They're in the USA, the Hatfields and McCoys, very famous clan rivalry. And anyway, you have quite a number of those here. Just in the last month, I think I read the military and police helped set up a treaty type system between another group of clans, group of families. They're in southwest Mindanao. The next story, 10 Chinese arrested for kidnapping Filipinos. And 7 men and 3 women, 10 Chinese nationals who allegedly kidnapped 7 Filipinos were arrested in Parañaque. I think that's how you pronounce it. The suspects, 7 men, 3 women, were apprehended by operatives of the Criminal Investigation and Detention Group during a raid on a house in multinational village, Barangay Moonwalk, about 4:50 a.m. The Chief Information Officer of the Philippine National Police said the rescue operation was based on information from one of the victims, a house helper, who alleged that they were being held against their will by the suspects for 3 days. Acting on the information, CIDG operatives and security guards of the village went into the house and arrested the suspects. 7 Filipinos were rescued in the operation. Fajardo said the victims were being forced by the foreigners to engage in activities such as love scams and cryptocurrency fraud. Now, love scams, be careful out there, guys and girls. Police seized 2 firearms, assorted bullets, 17 cell phones, 5 desktop computers, 3 laptop computers, passports, and identification cards. Human trafficking and a sort of slavery is still very common around the world, and especially young girls need to be very careful. The Philippine DFA, Department of Foreign Affairs, before Filipinos leave the country, they are trying to assess whether they are legitimately traveling, whether they legitimately have a job overseas, because there is quite a number of cases every year of Filipinos being promised a good high-paying job, maybe in the tourist industry, something like that, overseas, and then they end up being a very low-paid factory worker or something else, or running love scams and cyber scams, different types of things. So you really need to be careful, especially applying for jobs. My American friend recently took his younger wife to Australia for about a month, and we were talking with him the other day about, did you have any issues with you getting out? And he said, well, there were long lines where it said, let's see, foreigners and their partners this line, Filipinos this line, something like that. And anyway, there was long lines, so they split up. They went into different lines, and then they tried to connect on the other end. And they pulled them aside, and they did a lot of questioning. They took their phones, give us the password to your phone. And for quite some time, they looked through the phone to try to find out, are these people really a couple? Is he trying to entice her to go overseas to work for him, to kidnap her, to sell her, that type of thing? And eventually they got their items back. But interesting story. Anyway, I thought about, there was enough news in the paper this morning, I thought I would pass it on to you all. So if you're still here, 17 minutes later, thanks for watching. Stay safe, safe travels, and I'll see you next time.